prices in North Idaho on housing have been on the rise for many years now. But what if I told you that July 2022 is the best time in the last 24 months to be a buyer? If you are curious why, stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. We appreciate you being here with us. We're going to break down why summer 2022 is probably the best time to be a buyer at any point in time in the last 24 months. But before we do that, we want to remind you, if you are enjoying these videos or you find the content valuable, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to stay up to date. Click on the little bell so that you are the first to know and be notified of new content. So we have a controversial theory. It is the best time to buy right now in North Idaho. And you might be saying, how is it the best time to buy? Everything just keeps getting more expensive. Well, according to our supply and demand graph, we have obviously not enough supply and demand has been huge, which has driven up prices. But with the interest rate hike and the level of inflation that we've seen creep up on us here this spring, it's really turned the market, and it's turned the market in favor of buyers more so than any time in the last 24 months. So just to recap, in terms of our North Idaho market, beginning of 2020, COVID hit. States were locking down, mask mandates, vaccine mandates, people being deemed non-essential in their jobs and having to take time off work. That drove so many people into Idaho because we were far less regulated than our surrounding states. And so we saw a crazy boom in our housing industry here during COVID. In the last 24 months, buyers have been getting beat up on price.
They're tired.
On terms, everything. And so we want to give buyers a little glimmer of hope right now. We're starting to see some cracks or some chinks in the seller armor. Yeah. And so things are starting to turn. Exactly. Things are starting to turn. And so we want to be the first to make sure that you guys know, as consumers out there, how the market's changing and what you can do to kind of retain some more of that negotiation power. So first and foremost, like I said, this is the time right now where buy low and sell high are happening at the same time. That usually never happens. You don't ever buy low and sell high at the same time. But if you're a seller right now, you're still selling high. It's a good seller's market. We're still seeing double-digit year-over-year appreciation, but instead of 33%, it's more like 15, 17%. This is also the time as that seller or as that buyer, sell high, buy low, because prices are only going to continue to appreciate over the next couple of years. Now, it's not going to be at that same rate that we've seen over the last couple of years. Like I said, it's going down from like 33 to 15, but from 2022 to 2023, we're also expecting, somewhere between 10 to 12% appreciation. So as a buyer, it's only going to get more expensive continuing to. We do know that interest rates have gone up. So one thing that we're seeing now for buyers who are sensitive to that interest rate and that monthly payment is seller concessions coming back.
Yeah.
And that means
closing costs. Sellers are, pitching in again for closing costs. They're, offering credits to buy down interest rate points potentially. You're, as a buyer, you're able to say, hey, actually, I need you to fix this on the inspection sheet that comes back, rather than just saying, oh, no, we're not going to take care of that. You have a little bit more power, and the sellers are, a little bit more willing to contribute essentially to the sale.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because interest rates have gone up and buyers have been getting beaten down, we've seen waves of buyers kind of peel off the market. You know, they've signed another year lease because they got tired of getting beat out. They wrote up 10 offers and couldn't get anything accepted. Interest rates have taken people and priced them out and created more renters. I think also we talked about this in our last video. People are just on a pause because they're like, what's happening in our world right now? You know,
very
we've got
uncertain.
inflation and we've got interest rates and we've got things happening in Ukraine and gas prices. And so a lot of people are just on pause. And it feels a little bit kind of like when we went, like when COVID hit and everything just stopped and kind of dropped off a cliff.
Yeah.
But it's going to pick back up again. It will, just because people have to move on with their lives. But at this moment, the inventory has grown exponentially compared to last month and last year. So there's more options for buyers.
There's more options. And then, you know, again, with the buyers maybe taking a pause, you have more inventory, and then your
Less
buyer
demand.
and your buyer population is now smaller. So as a buyer, you might have a little bit more power because houses are sitting on the market for 2 weeks, 3 weeks without any activity, without any offers. So if you come in and you're like, well, this is what I have for you, they're more inclined to maybe take that offer because they haven't had anything else, right? And their sellers are kind of getting a little almost worried, like, oh, I haven't seen anything. What's happening? And, you know, your offer might be the first one that they've seen in 3 weeks. And so it might be low ball, but they might consider it. You know,
hopefully you at least get a counter. You know, but we're seeing buyers being able to maintain their contingencies. We're seeing buyers coming in with home sale contingencies, for example. We talked about that in our seller video. Sellers need to expect offers that have home sale contingencies tied to them now. And if you had a home sale contingency in the last couple of years, good luck getting that accepted. Now, today, different story.
Absolutely.
And this has been a change in just 30 to 60 days that we've seen this change. So growing inventory, fewer buyers because they're sensitive to price and interest rates and all sorts of things that are causing them to pause. Sellers a little bit more worried because they're sitting on the market, and we've been just pounding sellers with information over the last 2 years that things are flying off the market and they're getting multiple offers. And so when a seller enters the market and they're not seeing that, it creates a lot of anxiety.
It's like a panic almost.
A panic,
as well.
yes, and so you see 100 price reductions in a day, 80 price reductions in a day. So prices are cooling off, inventory is increasing, sellers are taking care of things like closing costs and prepaids more often. Buyers are able to negotiate on inspection items again. And then the other thing too, appraisers aren't as busy because the refinances in the market have essentially gone to zero.
No one's
refinancing right now. But that is also expediting the entire process. So it's just far less of a headache to be a buyer right now. And because we're not escalating in terms of appraisals, because we're not escalating, you know, $50, $80, $100,000 over, our appraisals are coming in on the money. We're not seeing the need to waive appraisal contingencies because we're not escalating on bids as much as we used to.
Your value actually is reflective of like what the home's
what
worth.
It's actually worth. Exactly. The other thing that we have seen too, in terms of being a buyer in this particular market, is that sellers and agents are having to work a little bit harder than they were in years past. I said for the last couple of years, this is the time to be a seller. If you have a weird house, you live on a busy street, you've got a lot of deferred maintenance, you've got a funky floor plan, if you've got that weird house that in a normal market would sit and expire, 2020 and 2021 were the years to sell that. We are getting back again to 2019 where buyers have options and sellers need to work a little bit harder to make a good impression because they actually have competition now. They actually have competition now. So all of this bodes really well for buyers coming into this summer. And I personally think, no knock to sellers, but I think that this is a much healthier market than what we were in prior. For everyone. Maybe sellers are making a little less money, but buyers are actually retaining some of their power again, and that makes it much more balanced and a much more healthy market. So these are all good things. They're positives for sellers, very big positives for buyers that didn't exist in the last 24 months.
And they deserve it. Throw them a bone.
Something's happening out there.
Hello.
They're on their way to tell. They're on their way to tell a seller that they've overpriced their house.
Overpriced, man. Knock that baby down.
So if you have any questions about being a buyer in this North Idaho market, especially this summer, or want to talk about what we see coming down the pipeline for the summer in terms of rates and inventory and pricing, we're happy to talk with you guys. Give us a call, shoot us a text. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Set notifications so that you know when our next video is coming out, and we appreciate you joining us every week to hear our take on why it's a great time to be a buyer.
Bye.
We'll see you next time.